Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and we are back with our next panel discussion on the road ahead for insurance penetration in India. Let me first introduce you to our moderator, Mr. Vikas Bansal. He's the director from Amazon. For the panelists, we have Mr. Sarveer Singh. He's the CEO from Policy Bazaar. Next, we have Mr. Sundar Krishnan. He's the Chief Risk Officer from Reliance Life Insurance. We have
Hi.
Mr. Vineet Arora, Managing Director and CEO from Paytm General Insurance. Mr. Vijay Kumar, he's the CEO and Principal Officer from GoDigit General Insurance. I would request all the delegates to keep posting their questions in the chat box, and the panel will address selected questions at the end of the session. Over to you, Mr. Bansal.
Thank you, Shivani, and very warm welcome. I hope all of you got a chance to catch up on lunch and some coffee, so we can have really good and engaging discussion. I'm so glad to be joined by my fellow panelists here to discuss the road ahead for insurance penetration in India. Before we get started, just wanted to tee it up and mention that insurance penetration in India continues to be really low in single digits. But we are seeing some really exciting trends, recently, and specifically coming out of COVID. While it has slowed down many industries, but one area that we are seeing some tailwinds is in insurance. And specifically, consumers are realizing the need of protection, and it is coming out more strongly. But at the same time, from a consumer perspective, the awareness of insurance, the pricing and affordability, as well as the trust, are the key barriers, to penetrate insurance. So we'll discuss all of it today and really understand how we can accelerate insurance penetration in India. So with that, I will start with my questions. I'll have first question go to Saravir, and maybe Saravir, if you can talk about the recent key learnings, in the last couple of quarters, and specifically on the customer adoption trends. What were in pre-COVID and what are in post-COVID, and specifically what's working and what's not working.
Sure, Vikas. So I think, as you know, Policy Bazaar is a digital platform. And what we've seen over the last now 8 months is that COVID, first of all, acted as like this great, wake up call for all consumers. Insurance is one of those things which a lot of people know that it's good for you. But, there's a hesitation, there is a tendency to put it off and say that we don't really need to buy it now. So certainly sometimes, catalyst kind of is required. And I think COVID has been a global catalyst for that. So initially what we saw was that consumers were very, very keen to protect themselves. In the first few months, March, April, May, the focus, at least in our platform, was more on mortality. So we sold a lot of term insurance. Health insurance, interestingly, picked up more in May, June, July. And that's when we found that a lot of consumers were searching for health insurance. They wanted to understand, what are the various products, what is available, what is not available. So we saw a lot of demand for that. So that has kind of been the journey due to COVID. I think COVID acted as this wake-up call. A lot of people came initially because the offline channels were not as active as they would have been pre-COVID. Digital adoption got a major boost, I think. And of course, now in the last 2-3 months, what we are seeing is that despite the number of cases of COVID rising, actually the consumer seems to have lost their, the fear seems to have gone. So what we are seeing is that, that fear has gone down. People are still looking for insurance. And I think when we emerge out of this, we'll find that there's a certain, delta growth that has happened in insurance penetration. But the COVID shock seems to have lost its steam a bit. And of course, now offline is also becoming, active, has been active now for a while. But again, just like everywhere else, what COVID has done has sort of accentuated the trends that were already in place. And in the case of insurance, it was the focus on protection, so health and term insurance. And secondly, the focus on digital adoption. So those are the sort of big themes that we've seen so far.
Absolutely. No, thank you, Sarvi. And maybe I'll ask the same question to Vijay. Vijay, any add-ons, learnings from your perspective that you've seen pre and post-COVID?
Yeah, thank you, Vikas. um, the the challenges and issues with respect to non-life industry is slightly different from many other sectors. For example, non-life companies have to deal with large volume, large customer base, large number of products, and there is also risk associated, which we have to keep in mind, and some amount of trust deficit also exists. So these are the challenges not peculiar to India. I think across the globe these challenges are common. So, traditionally, as because of these things, actually, the customer would like to sit face to face and understand the policy and then buy policy. I think this is how the insurance has been happening in the past. However, I think over the period, I think overall, the most of the industry players actually have geared up significantly much before COVID actually, and for us like Digit General Insurance, because we didn't have the baggage, we started our company around 3 years back, and we invested heavily on the technology, and a lot of things that we did actually helped a lot, and coping up with the challenges posed by COVID actually were not a big issue for us. Only thing is that COVID helped us to achieve a little bit more perfection. So, for example, some of the things we planned, much in advance when we started. We are in cloud. Our all agents actually are, API integration is there. Remote pre-inspection, enrollment, remote claim settlements, and remote training. So all these facilities or all these on the technology side we were already geared up, and there was really no big challenge actually during the COVID period. So in terms of as a growth, I think itself speaks where we've grown almost by 30% during this financial years.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Vijay. Definitely, we are seeing the trends, and we are seeing the rise in the consumer need for protection, and technology has to play a big role. So let me move on. And what we've seen, insurance, right? Insurance is actually today addressing the two sides of the spectrum. On the one side, it's catering to the needs of the rich, and then also on the other side of the spectrum to the poor, right? With the government programs and government coming up with a lot of schemes, including Ayushman Bharat and others. But penetration, if you look at in the middle, continues to be low. Both the awareness as well as penetration continues to be really low. So I wanted to ask this, maybe starting with Beneath, if you could help us understand what are the key gaps, that exist in this middle segment, which is very, very large segment, and something that we must crack to grow insurance in India. And are there specific things that you are doing within your company to understand this segment and also penetrate in this segment?
Yeah. Hi, Vikas. Thanks for inviting me to this forum. And I think that's a really the relevant question, and it's that missing middle that a lot of insurance companies have been trying to reach out to, and that's a large middle, like you correctly said. And just to take a step back, this is not just the missing middle for the insurance company. In fact, the entire financial services, if you look at it, is largely focused on the top, let's say 7 to 8% of the Indian population. And there are multiple reasons why it stays there. And insurance also is part of that bandwagon, as well as it has its own reasons. Clearly, one of them is the cost of reach. As the income levels start to drop, the viability of your cost of reach to that particular this thing and the proportion of the ticket size that starts to waver off. So, for example, if you're doing a ticket size of let's say $5,000, but your cost of reach is 2,000, it kind of just does not form a viable equation for people to reach out, which basically means you need to have a very, very different business model to be able to reach this population. Second is, like you said, awareness. Awareness, I would kind of disagree a little bit with you that there is no awareness in that segment. I think there is an awareness. In fact, the need for that segment is even bigger than the need for the top 7-8%, because their income stability, etc., is lower, and hence any risk will always put them at a greater peril, I would say, if something has to go wrong. So there is awareness. obviously how to get it, they somehow feel it is not for me. It is something that I cannot get. And that comes largely, I'm saying, because there is nobody who's reached out in the traditional models to them to try and explain the product or to try and sell a product. That's one. Second is the process that we follow today as an industry, which industry is moving. I'm just saying that process that we have been following as an industry, let me put it that way, is largely very document oriented. And there is a big gap of documentation, especially around income proofs that you find the moment you cross a certain population barrier. So that kind of also leads to people not being able to buy. So for example, when Sarabir was talking about term insurance, there is in term insurance, if 100 people apply, only about, Sarabir, just correct me if the numbers have changed, but around 60 or 65 are the ones who actually get approved. And the rejections are not because of medical reasons. It's not that 35, 40 are medically unfit to get a term insurance. The rejections are largely because they're unable to give those documentation that is required. So if you are, so these are two things. And the third part, I think clearly is complexity of the product and the jargons that we use. So obviously, simplification of product, standardization of product always helps in, building more trust with people because they understand what they're buying, especially by themselves. And then they can come to digital platforms and do the transaction, which will have a much lower cost of reach as compared to other platforms. And the process simplification, I think, will go a long way, where some bit the industry has to take a call, reinsurers has to take a call on being able to underwrite without some of these standard practices that we had.
No, that's very helpful, Vineet. And maybe I can ask Sundar, is if you agree with some of these gaps which exist, from your perspective, are there things specifically that you are planning to do or you're doing to address these gaps and then increase penetration?
Yeah, so I think many life insurers, I'm from the life insurance industry, had already ushered in the digital transformation process. We were skeptical though 4 or 5 years back or 6 years back when we transformed our businesses, but it's come, and as Mr. Singh said, it has accentuated, the COVID has accentuated that. Everything now what we do is digital, luckily. And the crisis like this, that helped us a lot. So yes, there is a lot of stress on simplification, process, and also forms, and also the process to make the customer aware and welcome him inside the insurance umbrella. Having said that, the regulations have hardened, the terms of engagement have hardened, the complexity is hardened. There's a lot of hardening also. And of course, it comes with many challenges, trust factor, the issues, customer complaints, etc., frauds that happen. And so the cost of reach also is what Vineet said. I agree with him because that also is a big issue. We don't reach out to the majority, and therefore it's confined to the rich, and they do take insurance cover. So that's why we find a appalling gap of 80% to 90% on the penetration side when we need to reach out much bigger. China is probably 6 times more in insurance density. We're 1/6 of China. So that's the kind of catching up that we have to do in terms of insurance penetration. So a lot of things are happening as we speak. Again, the private sector insurance industry is a teenager still, 2019, I would say. Yeah, you can't call ourselves a teenager yet, but learning. And we haven't matured yet. The industry hasn't matured yet. It has to go a long way. Having said that, things are unfolding for the better. I was so pleased to get a clean, no penalty, no warning, long regulatory inspection. Things have quality, so we have trust factor. So the mis-selling is also a problem, and that happens again in the segments, tier 4, tier 3, rural. And if we curb that and the trust factor comes in, then it would really be helpful to win them over. So there is a need, and people are aware of the need, the masses are, but how do we tap that is the challenge that we have. And if we meet that, if we managed it, we've done. The insurance industry will be at least 6 times more, and we'll catch up with China at least.
Yeah.
So that's the road path ahead.
Yeah.
And to do that, technology is going to play a big role. Without that, we can't do that. The wireless, the digital aspects, the reach that we need to do, and in terms of laying down the foundations for that. So, and simplifying things and all this, that's the key. Unfortunately, regulators hardened stands many times on small things, even on the processors and things like that, that they still want wet signature in proposal forms. And finally, they relented recently after a lot of hue and cry, saying that, with COVID now, digitization has gone ahead and then don't look back, don't take. So this is all the ecological issues that are there. Once you simplify things and see, we look back, the insurance industry will catch up. May
Yeah.
not be 6 times what we are, but at least 3 times, 4 times. So
Yeah. No, thank you, Sundar. Extremely helpful. And what we realize is also that though consumers or customers understand, that insurance is there, that they should buy, what's not they're clear. What we also see is the value proposition is like the awareness of saying, hey, why should I buy this? What's in it for me? And is it really going to be useful when I need it? Those are the key questions that come to the mind, and then it relates back to the trust factor. So really useful insights. Thank you, Sundar. Thank you, Vineet. Let me move on. One of the things we discussed, right, there is a tailwind, and specifically there has been surge in Corona specific products. And Sarvi, you talked about that it is sort of plateauing now, but we've seen surge. And then also there was standard policy that came out right from IDI on Corona Kavach or Corona Rakshak. So just from your perspective, like on your platform, what has been the key learning in terms of driving this accelerated growth? Are there things here, that are specific to Corona, right? But can be then exported to, other categories of insurance? So like, do you want to share with the whole group here, what could be some learnings?
Yeah, so I think first I'd like to just separate the two issues. I think the regulator has played a fantastically sort of I would say aware role on COVID. I think they were ahead of the curve. They came out right up front and they said, look, COVID is covered under existing health policies. Then secondly, as you said, they came up with these. Actually, they first came up with a standard health policy, Arogya Sanjeevani, and then with the standard Corona policies. So what we found was that there was until July, I think when Corona Rakshak and Corona Kavach were launched, there was still a lot of uptake for the standard covers as well, because people were looking for protection, whatever be the methodology, right? The Corona policies did extremely well. Minute you lower the price point, and I think the value proposition, I think the word that has been used by several people, was very clear. And also the fact that people were very clear that yes, PPE would be covered in the Corona policies. The sort of the rules of engagement were very, very straightforward. So I think those policies have brought in a large number of new users. At least what we've seen on our platform is that a large number of new people have come into the industry because of these Corona policies. Because what we found was that consumers are generally relatively quite sensible and mature about these things. So people do understand that in general, if you can afford it, a comprehensive health policy is a better deal than buying just a Corona policy. But of course, affordability, etc., have become major concerns as Corona has gone on. And there, some people have taken on either as additional policies or as a new policy where they've come into the industry. So I think the Corona policies have done a good job. And I think the learning from this, if any, is actually we actually differ from this view that we should go for specific covers. We feel that while they are appealing in the beginning, this is not the right way or the right proposition from an insured perspective. See, the industry may still do fine, but the insured don't really benefit from these policies. And it is better to actually have a comprehensive cover in the long run, if you can afford it. So what we feel is that what is to be learned from this is that one should be proactive, one should stay ahead of the curve on these things, clarify the issues. Like if you see one of the most important changes that have happened in the health insurance sector is from 1st October, the clarification on the policies. What is a pre-existing disease? How will it be treated? What is mental health? How will it be treated? So I think what the role that the regulators which have been playing also is that clarify the things so that the trust factor, the confusion can go down. And the person can know if I pay X, I get Y. right? Because as we all know, right, this panel knows better than anyone that insurance, the biggest problem is that you're paying for a promise, right? You're paying something, you're not going to get anything. All you get is one PDF document, right, in your mail. And you don't get, there's no satisfaction, right, of buying. Like you buy a phone, you unbox it, you set it up. There's some joy in it, right? Here, there's no joy. So I think that, it's very, very important to create this positive, feeling to the person that I bought this policy. Okay, now I'm comforted that I will be covered. If I go to hospital, I will be, all my costs will be taken care of. So, I mean, I think that to me is the more important lesson from Corona, rather than just saying that we should have Corona specific products. That
Yeah,
is good,
absolutely.
but there's a bigger issue here.
Yeah, absolutely, Sarveer. No, it's an interesting trade-off, right? Which is one, to discuss that comprehensive insurance, but it comes at a higher price point, and then you have specific coverage at a low price point. And it's hard right now. We keep straddling to say which one could be better to sort of accelerate that insurance. So maybe with that, I go to my next question, which is on digital, right? So that we are seeing increasingly customers are on digital platforms, and customers are spending more and more time on digital, whether they're buying or doing payments and other things, right? And then the question is on bite-sized products, right? Insurance bite-sized products have been talked about, and which bite-size mean it's a very specific coverage and with a very low price. And maybe a question to Vijay, being a digital first company, is that how do you guys think of this, the role the bite size can play in accelerating insurance? And it's a different trade-off, right, compared to a comprehensive coverage. So what is your view on that, Vijay?
Yeah, thanks, Vikas. We were actually, since in the beginning, we invested very heavily in the technology. And the objective was very simple, as Vineet mentioned, that because servicing a small ticket size product actually is very, very difficult and is not cost effective, in a traditional way. It has to be backed up with technology so that efficiently, with low cost, you can deliver that product. So we had thought about it, right in the beginning itself, and I'm not sure if you are aware. Actually, the first few product that we started was, apart from motor, was along with that was mobile insurance. We also started with small ticket size, travel insurance product. So it is important that the technology is available to deliver these products. For example, this travel product, which is basically a trip delay product, which we were selling through various portals, various aggregators. And now in this product, we had actually integrated with the airlines. And if the flight delay happens more than 75 minutes, automatically the claim happens, and the data automatically flows back from the airline to the insurance company, and the customer is informed about the claims. The customer doesn't have to, customer may not be aware about the claim, but we send SMS that, okay, you have a claim and you can make a claim. So entire transaction is without any hassle, or quick, and without much of cost involved in that. So so for these kind of small ticket size product, it's very important that you have the technology available, and then only it is possible to deliver it. Second, how do we, on the policy issuance side, actually, the best platform available will be to, online space, like Amazon or maybe Flipkart or Paytm, etc. We had certain collaboration with them in the past. So there, in split second, the entire transaction has to be completed. And insurance industry generally always, with the old school of thought, where you have to evaluate the risk, you have to ask 10 questions, and then only you can say yes or no. So that is another challenge which one has to also take care of. And I guess all this is possible only with the new age technology is possible. In the traditional manner, it is very, very difficult. there is definitely a scope here for a small size ticket product, and that is the best way to take insurance to even the remotest corner of the country. However, there is also challenge, on both sides. On the insurance company side also, because any insurance company, new company starts, they will also look at building a top line, to sustain in the market, because they have to infuse capital and their expenses. So always the effort is to have a bigger ticket size insurance and build the book. So it is also a bit risky, and to have start with a small ticket size unless you have a sound backup available. So that is one on the insurance company industry side. The other issue is obviously from the regulatory side. There can be so many small products which regulator has to approve that products, and still I guess the regulator, I think, is long way to go. They have made a lot of efforts, and lot of this sandbox and certain efforts have been made from their side, but I think long way to go where the product approval is quick and without much of hassles. So these are the two challenges. I'm sure going forward, I think this will happen, and this is the way forward. When we are looking at increasing penetration, I think absolutely this will happen, and this is the way forward.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Vijay. Maybe I'll ask the same question from Vineet. Like, if you have a different perspective, or do you agree that specifically bite-sized products, like really low price, very specific coverage, do you think it could be the pivotal role in accelerating insurance, or do you think the traditional way is the better model? What do you think?
So specifically bite size, because I think bite size has its own role to play. In fact, it's like creating a sachet of a shampoo. It's equivalent to that. Has a definite role to play. However, it has limited purpose. I think we must understand that also. It has limited purpose. So the way bite size is bought by the customer, understood by the customer, and let's say sold by the insurance company, I think that's very important. So there are I classify bite size in two broad categories from a customer side. One is a very contextual bite size, which basically like mobile insurance. I'm buying a mobile insurance. I'm buying something. I'm buying an extended warranty, or something which is related to some transaction I'm doing, and I know that this asset is getting covered. So there is an ample understanding at the level of customer on what he's buying. And then there is the other bite size category, which is more like let's say an open market kind of bite size. Let's call it that way, where you do sell an insurance which is specific to a season or a need, or some flavor of the month, if just to put it lightly. And that's sometimes when customer buys, and those I think solve a very, very limited purpose and don't really end up I would say really by the principle of it do not really increase insurance penetration. They do on the numbers, but I think by the principle I would just still say that it's not really doing the purpose. So the idea would be to, if you really want to do insurance penetration, I think we must do bite size. Contextual products are something which is a need of the industry. They were never been done in India because, again, smaller ticket, how do you deliver it, how do you sell it, etc., was always a challenge, which can be done now. The second is, can we also create simpler modular versions of, let's say, our normal insurance plans, which people can buy, and then maybe as their income grows, add up, top up, etc., whatever, so they can increase as they go along. But to get a ticket size down to increase penetration, I think that's a no-brainer. If you can get the ticket size down, penetration will go up. That's, I think, clearly the case. If you get the language simple and the purpose very simple, penetration will go up. I think these are the basic principles that all of us do understand. The challenges are obviously how do you execute this, and various challenges that Vijayji also just mentioned. There are various challenges around this, but if you are able to get it simple, straight purpose, what do I buy, what do I get, ticket size to a very, I would say the appetite for that ticket size is good, you will definitely see it increasing penetration.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vineet. Very insightful. So maybe I'll move on. Vijay talked about a little bit about the role of the regulator, and for us to really increase penetration, the regulator has to play a pivotal role. And in that regard, maybe I'll go to you, Sundar. Your perspective on what more could regulator play a role here? are there any specific things as an industry that we could ask, the regulator as we think about the next 5 to 10 years of penetration in India?
Yeah, so I think what's understood now is that lesser the product ticket, more is the penetration. So that's the key part. Today, it is unaffordable to do a low ticket product, especially in the life insurance industry. So below a certain point of threshold, we are not able to sell in a cost-effective way, unless it is niche backed by technology, like somebody sits on a plane or a car or a taxi and from airport to the town side, and then you do a one-time transaction, a term insurance kind of thing. Yeah, it's possible, but that's niche. That doesn't give you the penetration. It gives you some kind of revenue and some kind of footfall. So given that, and given that you have a mass out there waiting and needing insurance badly, we will need to simplify things, simplify processes, products, and I think regulator is moving up in that direction. I think it was appreciated the way they came up with COVID and health insurance and many other products recently. But the problem is the pricing, one, two, the innovation, and the spirit of freedom over there. I mean, it's too much of micro management or set menu that you have a problem or very little room to play. So the product approval process, there is a lot of call from the industry to liberalize that, leave it to the company where the appointed actuary CEO would sign off and then regulator has to just approve. As against the way the scrutiny happens, review happens, and then you put all kinds of conditions that you don't have the spirit, the freedom or the elbow to innovate and also to reach out. These are the two barriers. The other problem, of course, is the investment cost barrier. There is this expense control, etc., which is a problem again, especially if you're a non-banker company. To reach out to customers in towns, tier 4, tier 3, and rural areas, it's so tough. So you have several restrictions which are more of micromanagement or regulatory nature. From a liberalized way, you can approach it. Of course, you'll have to watch the players. Of course, you'll have to ensure trust. I'm not saying no. I'm all for it. Go for stringent punishments for customer complaints, mis-selling, audits, inspections. Go for that, definitely. But having said that, give freedom in supply side to meet the reach, to meet the common man's reach. And that is the missing factor. I think more and more we move on to principle-based regulation from rule-based regulation. It's all rule-based, rules. The rules really hit you. Finally, you find you don't have a freedom to reach out. That freedom to reach out, freedom to innovate, and ensure trust is the missing element. And again, the regulator also, the industry is also a teenager, as I rightly said in the beginning. And so we've matured slowly. I think last 4 or 5 years, most insurance companies matured. And I guess there is a greater trust in the regulators' room, but they need to come out and give that freedom to the industry to regulate themselves and the life councils. So this is all there in the law. The life council is supposed to be the self-regulator. So is the General Insurance Council, but they're not allowed to self-regulate. It's still the IRDA which lays down the rules. And unlike AMFI or some other bodies where they have their own, AMFI comes with so many rules and regulations that industry has come up with, and it's the law and it's the rule. Whereas in our case, it's all the IRDA which lays down the rules. So that principle-based regulation, if we move up the chain of maturity, and industry is maturing. Once that happens, once there is a trust, there is a greater room to innovate, greater room to reach out. And once you reach out, you come up with low-cost products using technology and meet the demand, then there is no supply constraint and demand constraint. Then you have only way to go up, and that's up. And you reach out.
Great. Thank you, Sundar. We have a few minutes left, so we're getting some questions from the audience. So maybe I'll take one from the audience right now. And the question is, for reducing cost of premium, accurate risk analysis is required. So is there enough data available, for such analysis in the new age insurance products, right? As we move in this direction, the role of data is critical. Do we have enough data? So maybe I'll start with you, Vineet. What is your perspective on this question?
Yeah, so I think it's a very important question. To reduce the cost, accurate risk analysis, better reach cost, which means distribution cost, etc. All of that come into play. I think the part here not just talks about cost, but also talks about how do you really simplify the process using data, which means you take less documents, you take maybe no document if required, etc. And how do you use data to be able to do that underwriting? So the question is data available? The answer is data is there. Okay, but data is data there in consumable form? Do we have enough science behind the data to accurately say that this is what it means? I think those are the questions which somewhere we need to address as an industry. And out here, I think both along with the regulator, the industry, the government, we could do a lot of stuff which can help us simplify the entire data architecture in the entire industry. So data is there. So just for example, the idea of taking an income document for an insurance is to basically establish a lifestyle of a person, and to say that whether that person can afford a certain lifestyle, and hence that would fall into a certain morbidity or a certain mortality class. Can that lifestyle be established through spending patterns? Can that lifestyle be established through various other means? The answer is definitely yes. So if you have electricity bill in excess of something, along with that you do X amount of shopping somewhere, etc. All that can help establish some kind of a lifestyle pattern, and those can be further fine tuned as we go along. What this will need obviously some flexibility in terms of pricing from regulator, because you will start somewhere and then you will end up maybe at a slightly different point, because as you experiment you will become better at it, and so you will need to reach somewhere. So you need some flexibility in terms of being able to price those products more dynamically as compared to you get it on a traditional product. On the infrastructure side, I think a lot can be done, specifically use of data to prevent frauds, use of data to reduce the claim cost, use of data to do just integrating various government, I would say hospital facilities itself can reduce fraud dramatically in the entire industry. So I'm just saying all this digital integration
Thank you, Vineet. Really
Vikas,
helps. Yes.
If I could just very quickly add to what Vineet said, I think, like since we have a digital platform, we actually are doing some of this stuff already, where we do, share with our insurer partners certain data, certain fraud metrics, certain, metrics around what the consumer has done on the platform, right, before they've actually purchased. So I think there is a lot possible, and frankly speaking, there is a lot that is there. If we can use it better, I think we will come a long way. So sometimes, the search for exotic solutions is not the answer. The answer is in front of us. We just want to use it. And, I think as an industry, we just need to be, willing to go with it. It's not that these things are not possible today. I think it's the exotic stuff I'm sure will help, but basic stuff can go a long way in doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Sarveer. So maybe I'll ask the last question. This is from the audience again. Is that, to grow this ecosystem and insurance penetration in India, partnerships are going to be important, are going to be critical. Maybe, Vijay, maybe I ask you this question, like from your vantage point, what kind of partnerships for insurance companies as they think about the next phase of growth would be really critical, to grow penetration, where you can 1 + 1 could be 11, that we can grow the overall pie within insurance?
Yeah, as I know, we were other colleagues were talking about the data, importance of data. I think for the way I look at it, for a non-life insurance company, data is the lifeline. That is what actually differentiates insurance from gambling. So now the challenge is here only. Of course, some data is available. Insurance companies have their own, but the entire ecosystem is still not geared up fully. And I would like to, also appreciate the present government, the efforts they have made to, develop that ecosystem, whether with regard to motor data or, on the health side or motor side. And there are many, I think, steps have been taken by them. For example, NHA is already, trying to bring all the hospitals and all the, OPD desks online and bring at one platform to, build a database. IIB, Insurance Information Bureau, has done a lot of work. Vahan, I think Ministry of Transport has done tremendous work, in developing Vahan and Sathi, etc., etc. So while the effort, already has been enough efforts have been made, still on the capability side, on the part of insurance companies, plus the complete information that is required to evaluate the risk, so that we can price a product which is affordable for our general public, and the penetration increases. So we are still have to go a long way in this regard, but I think a lot of improvement has happened over the last 3-4 years, with this new government, whatever efforts they have made. So the best way is to have information available. Now, I think one of the best source of information is the online space, which is growing very fast. But somehow there has been some regulatory issues, and plus the insurance companies industry was also not fully geared up, where we can fully leverage on the the information which is available with the online space. For example, on the Uber, Ola, or maybe Amazon. I think so. These are the potential partners which industry can collaborate in going forward and leverage on. I think there is that kind of data they have. I think that is the best for non-life industry to improve penetration and improve the presence across the country.
Yeah, absolutely, Vijay. And this is where, that we can come together as from our perspective, at Amazon Pay, we've been on this journey for a couple of years. We see this a great opportunity for us to collaborate together and then really bring out, where we can reach, where we can increase the access. We can lower the cost of reach. We can use the data, obviously with customer consent, to lower the risk, right, or lower the cost of underwriting, and then really create a win-win, for the customer, for us, as well as for the insurance company in general. And I'm sure all of us would agree with that. So really useful insights. I think we are at a point where you need a catalyst, and I feel like 2020 would be the catalyst year for insurance in India, and we in the coming years will see phenomenal accelerated growth. And I look forward to that, and working with entire industry to make it happen. So thank you all. It's been really pleasure to moderate this panel. I personally learned a lot, and I'm sure audience found it very useful as well. So thank you. Over to you, host. Thank you, team.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Vincent. Thank you, Dan. Thank you to all our speakers for making this discussion so engaging. Special thanks to our audience and our sponsor. Another thanks to our title partner, Lyra, powered by partner PhonePe, agenda partner PayPoint, and our payment partner PayU. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We do have other panels, exciting panels for you. Please stay tuned. We are signing off. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.